But before YouTube horribly demonetizes me, Stu, welcome to Cinema, Life and Everything. How are you?
Hello. Hello, who are you?
Who
are you?
I'm Philip Bateman, aren't I?
Philip, how are you? Well, you didn't
I'm
even
not too...
introduce yourself. You just turned me on.
That's what I do. I wait till you're going down a rabbit hole and I turn you on like Pooh Bear getting stuck in a tree trunk. You've got your little red jumper on. You forgot to wear your trousers, and I'm just seeing your bottom.
Oh no, I'm not allowed to swear. I'm allowed to masturbate though. No,
I think that's allowed. I just click the not for kids box, don't I?
Party poppers everywhere.
But by the way, I saw the Winnie the Pooh live show the other month, and it was amazing. They actually had a little puppet Pooh Bear bum wiggling from side to side.
How do you know I've got no pants on? I've not seen it. I can't bring myself to see that. The last sort of horror movie, sort of faux kids film I saw, which was actually quite good, was the Banana Splits movie.
Yes,
which was really, I really enjoyed that.
That was dark. They did release a Winnie the Pooh film because when things go public domain, you can watch them, and it was there, Love and Honey, and I was like, oh, Blood and Honey, and I'm just like, I went Love and Honey was something else, but Blood and Honey, I was like, no, I couldn't do it. I genuinely love Winnie the Pooh. I can't watch a Winnie the Pooh horror film.
I'm ambivalent to Winnie the Pooh, but I do love the banana. I was always fond of the Banana Split.
That theme tune is incredible.
It's amazing. I just remember the Saturday morning kids show, and it's yeah, I love all of that stuff. But anyway,
that theme tune is probably the reason that rave and acid house and stuff got invented.
Yeah,
like kids eating their cereals, watching that on a Saturday morning. Jesus.
Yeah, or getting junked up on Fruit Loops.
Anyway, Stu, for people who are not aware of my original podcast, Slouching Towards Masculinity, would you like to introduce yourself and just tell the viewers and listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Well, I'm my name's Stu Allen. I'm a professional wrestler of nearly 30 years, now known as the Dominator. That's me, and I'm one of the founders of Extreme World Wrestling. Based now in Hastings, but formerly of Oxfordshire, yes. And we're the punk element of British wrestling, who were the guys who started influential in starting the BritWres revolution back when British wrestling was on its knees in those years between the times of when World of Sport had vanished and Sky TV had basically snapped up everything, and in the years between 97 through to 2001, 2002, there wasn't a lot out there. So we kind of went around cherry picking all of the best talent that we could find, obviously you being one of those, and went on to create some of the most unusual shows in independent British wrestling history.
I thought you were going to say, we picked all the best talent we could find, and then we found you.
Well, no, you were one of the first ones we did. I remember being recommended to get you and Paul back in '99, and I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been little Johnny Storm. It was Johnny. I know, I think it was Alex.
Yeah,
I think it was Alex who said, "I've got these two guys who you'd love. You just would love them." There was Alex. I remember it. And then we brought you guys down to the Olympiad.
Oh my God, do you remember that?
The worst crowd ever. They were there to kickboxing show, and we absolutely ruined their night, and they ruined ours a bit as well.
Oh well.
Never mind.
Never mind. Carry on. But, before we get on to the next bit, one thing I am going to try and find some and put them in the show notes as well, hopefully. But for people that are not aware of it was Extreme World Warfare, then Extreme World Wrestling. Stu has done some amazing videos, and you can really see, even before we get talking about his film choices today, one thing that always got me about what you did, Stu, was you added a very interesting horror film element or fantastical element to your wrestling shows. And the thing that always hooked me as a fan, as well as being a wrestler on the show, was that you were so interested in stories and emotion. So you had the sizzle of all the high spots or all the big moves, and also all of the hardcore style of wrestling with baseball bats and barbed wire and stuff, but at the same time it's because the emotion was there, the story was there. You had these amazing trailers which were, like I say, you've always had that amazing director's eye for making these films really interesting. Even now, the other month, or the last show, Stu produced this short that was promoting the show, very much about Felix looking in the mirror, and all sort of like cut scenes and quick subliminal effects, very much in a Kill List vein, in a Wicker Man vein. It was just incredible.
You know, I can't take the credit for that. Actually, that one, that was Dino Locke produced.
Oh,
I came up with some ideas for him and threw them at him, and we kind of scattergunned it. And he's the one who came up with that one. So yeah, I signed that on off. Dino, that's Dino's creation, that one.
Wow.
But the one of ours, which was obviously the one that got the most hits and everything, were the two that we did. We did the Wild West one.
Yes.
Which was just, I still think now to this day, that was played on the big cinema screen to open the show. As the lights dropped down it was from the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but it wasn't the theme, but it was the Sergio Aragonés soundtrack.
Yeah.
And obviously you and I filmed that, and you know, we were coming walking down the wild. We filmed it at Laredo, which was the Wild West town, where they filmed Red Dwarf, and they did a load of other things like that. But I still think that's one of the best things that we've ever done. And then we did the Poisoning one as well at the Victorian Mansion.
Yes, but with all of the good guy wrestlers witnessing their deaths and
witnessing their own death. So yeah, a lot of the stuff, and again, I have to thank my old business partner Jamie, who I know's he's been on this show, and no doubt he'd be listening to this. But I have to thank dear Jamie, because Jamie was the one who started EWW with me, and his love for the macabre and horror was really what spiked my what made me come up with the idea of putting it into wrestling, and realizing that actually the two marry together very well.
Yes.
And as much as rock and roll music, rock and roll, sound old. As much as metal goes with pro wrestling, horror goes even better with wrestling. Yes. We Jamie and I mean, with real basic equipment back in the day, used to create these dark, weird, creepy, eerie videos filmed down at Castle Ruins and that. And of course, it's ascended to the heights it is now, and I'm very proud of it. But Jamie should take a lot of credit too, because he gave me massive inspiration for those things.
Oh, that's amazing for you to say, Stu. And yeah, Jamie, when you're listening to this, thank you very much, and getting me to finally watch the film Quills, which he was absolutely unbelievable.
He got me. Yeah, he got me to watch that too. And that's what a film.
Oh my God! I think I think like whoever promotes that film or like distributes it should give him a royalty.
Yeah, I think he's involved in it. I think he's got some involvement in that film, because he sold me on that back in the early 2000s. But what a great film that is!
Oh yeah, I know, incredible. But right, so Stu, before further ado, then what are your 3 films?
I've forgotten.
I did.
If I have to refer to notes, it's because I'm elderly. But my 3 films in no particular choice are Full Metal Jacket,
amazing,
Dead Man's Shoes, and Seven.
Amazing. So where would you like to start?
Dead Man's Shoes.
Oh, my favourite, yeah.
Because it is my number 1.
Yeah.
I love Shane Meadows. I think Shane Meadows is one of the most underrated directors of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Everything he's done has been, to my mind, absolutely astonishing. But Dead Man's Shoes is, I think, one of the greatest thrillers ever made.
Yes.
Some of the stuff. I mean, the storyline. Obviously, you've got the soldier returning home to get even with the local low-level drug gang who've tortured his how should we call it, his mentally impaired brother.
Yeah.
And some of the set pieces in that film are, well, they're second to none, aren't they?
I think one of the biggest things that leap out for me, and I don't know if you agree with this, it's actually based on a graphic novel, but and it's really close to the graphic novel. But one thing that Shane Meadows has done throughout his films, and especially in this one, like you say, he's very good at getting the small town detail. Those drug dealers felt like someone that you would know.
Yeah.
They behaved.
Yes, they are. Thanks, Phil. Thanks for that, mate. 2 years clean, ladies and gentlemen. But but no, you're right. You're right. He's got a real ability to tap in to. You can't even put your finger on it what it is, but it's that raw, realistic thing. Like that sense of real you get with Eden Lake.
Yes.
That those little sods, man. You know those kids like that even though they're younger than you and weaker than you, but you'll see them on the street corner, and you'll get a little bit of the spider sense tingling up your neck. You'll think, I don't like you, and I don't trust you. And there's something about that, and he does this with this group. And from the opening scene, well, obviously I can't swear, but the scene in the cafe where he sees that guy, and it slowly unravels where they realise the gang starts to realise that's Anthony's brother. He's back in town. He's come back. This is Anthony's brother, and it slowly starts to unravel. And Paddy Considine, for such a physically, and he's not a challenging man physically, but he's got a real edge to him in that film, which is just unbelievable. And every single line he delivers is spine tingling.
How did you hear about it? How did you?
From my one of my very best friends who's no longer with us, sadly, Jerry White, who's my best man at my wedding. Dear Jerry, he said to me, we used to hang around his house and have a blaze up on a Sunday. And it must have been about when the film was released, about 2004, 2005. He said to me, you have to see this film.
Yes.
And if anyone ever bangs onto me about things, it don't matter what it is, I will go full teenager and I don't want to watch it.
Yeah, because it's
everyone's what was it? Lord of the Rings. You got to see Lord of the Rings. You got to see Game of Thrones. You got to see this. And I'm like, do you know what? I don't want to know. You've already spoiled it for me just by proxy, just by going on about it so much. And that was one of those Dead Man. Every time he'd go on, I'd say, "Oh, Dead Man shoes, stick it." Do you know what I mean? And then one year he gave me a Christmas present. I unwrapped it, and it was Dead Man shoes. And I was like, "Oh, bugger! I've got to watch it now." And watched it and was absolutely mesmerised.
Yeah, do you know, it's exactly the same to me. A friend of mine was trying to get me to watch it, and very similarly, I'm like, no, because like you keep going on about it. I'm not. It can't be that good. You oversold it now. And they just showed me out of context on YouTube that scene, which is probably the one you're pretty much referring to as well, where the car pulls up and Paddy is just standing out in the rain.
Oh yeah, he's just hands behind his back.
Oh. He goes, he's
channeling his inner Liam Gallagher, isn't he? He's just got his hands behind his back and he's just got his chin in the air like that, and he's just offering the guy on, Gary Stretch, who's Sonny, and he just offers him on, and he's like, "I don't scare you, do I?" And he's like, "Nope."
Yeah,
and it's just like you said earlier. There's something really real about it. You've had that conversation or witnessed that conversation after a night on it. Do you know what I mean? You've seen people have those conversations, and to be able to put that onto film is some talent.
I just think for me, the way, like you say, Paddy just has a way of. He looks very disturbed. But just that level of absolute calm, and then you realise it's calm, but also that level of rage that's so much in him. He's just gone still because he's so angry.
And the one in the cafe when I won't repeat the line, but when he just does that, and the horror in the guy's face, and also the bit where the creepy crawly scene where he creeps around the house and fills the kettle up with all the drugs.
Yeah. And wearing the gas mask and stuff as well.
Mask. And that guy's just sliding down the wall slowly. Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to put you out.
Yeah.
And then he just gives him the heel palm strike to the jaw. And wow, the way he picks them off one by one is just a thing of beauty.
And it's one of the, usually when I see deleted, so I got the special edition, and usually when I see the deleted scenes of things, I'm like, I didn't need that. And actually, there's a longer conversation with the last kill in it, or like, so sorry, spoilers here to complete the cycle, but Paddy makes sure that he sort of dies himself because he realizes his brother, who's been seen all the way through the film, is actually dead anyway, and he doesn't really want to live. He wants to make sure that he got his vengeance, but then there's no need for him anymore. And the conversation he has with the final guy to convince him to kill him is just absolutely chilling. And you realise that that's the reason that he was capable of killing all these people, because he had literally nothing to lose.
It's that moment when you realise, because I knew nothing of the film at all.
None.
I didn't know about the twist. And when you realise that he's been having this conversation with his dead brother, it's a jolt. It's a massive jolt. It really is a massive kick in the nuts. And the other kill that I sound like those two cases off League of Gentlemen, don't we? Nothing on killing. To what But there's that one where he gets the guy to give up where the gang leader, the last guy's hiding, and he says, "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to hurt you," and hugs him and then stabs him.
Oh yeah.
So it's like everything that's horrible. And there's no resting place for it. And just when you think there might be a happy ending, no chance.
No, but just, yeah, Shane Meadows, like you say, able to, it's so authentic, it almost feels documentary style.
Yeah, it does.
And that level of authenticity, and it's not the goriest of films. It's not, no. It's very but it's more the threat of violence. That, like I say, that fact, just before something kicks off and everything goes very still and calm because you realise something very bad is just about to happen. The film manages to carry that throughout its whole runtime.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't need to. It's well, in fact, all three films that I mentioned are all ones that really don't show too much gore and rely on the human brain to do the horror for you.
Which is all would you say?
Well, you and I have always loved that. You and I, whenever obviously you and I talk loads anyway, and we discuss horror films, and you recommend me dreadful ones sometimes.
Sorry about that. You didn't like the Outlaws, did you? Okay, you can't hit a home run every day.
I think I was going through a particularly dark time then, and
yeah, probably not a good time to watch that one.
You rather cruelly, may I have, Mr. Bedwell, told me to watch it, and then. Bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, listening at home, this man knew that I was going through troubled times and told me to watch this with the lights off on these.
Oh, on headphones, yeah.
And I nearly gave myself an aneurysm. So bear in mind, he's a very cruel man. This man who you queue up to listen to. Yeah, he's very cruel. Doesn't care.
I wanted you to get the full effect, but it probably wasn't the time for the full effect.
I did. I was thoroughly upset. If the full effect was me being thoroughly depressed and upset, then you did exactly what you intended to.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But no, screw the Outlaws. But other than that, you're normally right on the mark. And but going back to the point where we've always spoken about films, and what we've genuinely both always agreed on is that when the film is powerful enough to make you think and do the horror bit for you, there's nothing better than that.
It's more the fear, like if you've always got that, it's like walking into a dark or down a dark staircase. It's more the fear of more that your brain, when you see what things are, then the horror can only be that. It's why Jaws, for a way, is so. Jamie's getting excited now, but it's why Jaws is so excited. You know that there's only ever going to be a shark in there, but the fact you can't see where it is and it can attack at any time, that's a lot scarier.
I know. Well, he's always said that about Jaws. He's bang on about that. It always surprises people when he says his favourite horror is Jaws, but it is. It's undoubtedly one of the greatest horror films of all time. And again, and again, I know a lot of people didn't rate it much. But I loved it. Was Jordan Peele's Nope, which I thought, amazing. Which was Jaws of the Sky.
Yes, 100%.
In a lot of ways, wasn't it? And again, it's the not being able to see, and you know that thing's there.
And again, that's what makes it so terrifying. So I mean, if it's all right, because we're sort of linking onto it with the fear of not seeing violence till after it's happened, and something hiding in plain sight. 7.
Well, 7. I think Seven, for me, is probably, well, it has been called the best twist in cinematic history.
Yeah, that almost
Um,
was.
and I think it's been called. I think Time Magazine called it one of the best films in cinematic history. At the beginning, they were unsure about casting Brad Pitt because they thought his following was all young teenage girls, and it wasn't going to work. And did you know that it was going to be his part was going to be played by Gary Oldman?
Oof. Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Gary Oldman was going to be Mills originally, but it's one of the few films other than Kill Bill that I went back to see immediately again the following day when it came out in the cinema in 1995.
Wow.
And obviously Morgan Freeman gives the performance of his life, arguably. It's certainly up there, isn't it? Brad Pitt is very good, but Kevin Spacey, we're not really allowed to talk about him much these days. No. But dear old Kevin Spacey was amazing. Obviously, you got the retired Somerset and his new partner Mills going after Spacey as the, what do they call him, John Doe?
John Doe,
which is the American police name. I think they use it over here now as well, to give to people who are unnamed miscreants. And basically, the guy is well, everyone's seen the film, haven't they? So it's the Seven Deadly Sins, but absolutely amazing. And I don't think there's a more. You look at that film now, and I don't think there's a much more claustrophobic film in the world than that.
Never stops raining.
It never stops raining, but what they did in that film. They lowered the sets. They lowered the ceilings of all the sets to make it claustrophobic. And there's an artist called Edward Munch who suffered with awful depression through his life, and a lot of the sets were all based on his paintings with the dark greens and that heavy, sickly, grisly, and it's almost Gotham-esque, isn't it?
Yes.
The way that the city is timeless. It could be anywhere, anytime. You couldn't say that's set in 1996. That's set in could have been the 80s. It's timeless, that film.
Well, it's funny actually as well. Someone recently with the new Batman film with Robert Pattinson actually put shot to shot, and they've
said that when I was watching it. When I went to see that, I said, they've taken some Seven out of this, 100%.
The stuff with it. Yeah, sorry.
No, nothing. I was just going to say the thing that, and I know it will have hit you as well. The greatest film opening credits of all time.
Oh, yeah.
With Closer, that has been used and copied, but never recreated by loads of films ever since. But the score with Closer that never made it onto the actual movie score, which they sold for some reason, I don't know why. But that bastardized version of Closer, with obviously John Doe creating his little montage back in his house. Today gives me goosebumps.
I actually know that David Fincher, who's actually a perfectionist for detail, all of those books that are written in that crazy small text as well.
Yeah,
he had a designer to write all of those books.
They went to so much trouble with all of the detail in that. He was a music video specialist. Fincher.
Yes,
he was like Madonna. Worked with Madonna. He did Vogue and things like that.
Yeah,
and then out of nowhere, he's come up with Seven, which is a masterpiece. But the kills in so like again League of Gentlemen, isn't it?
I like the kills.
The kills in it are just unbelievable.
What's your favourite one?
Well, obviously, Gluttony is horrifying.
Jump scare.
But Gluttony is horrifying. Pride, with the defaced model, but probably the best one of all is Lust, with the bladed dildo, and they advertised for a woman who'd look good as a dead hooker,
and
they got this girl, but the guy who is Sloth, everyone thought that was a dummy, and it isn't. It was a real actor who was absolutely like starved to the bone, and they kept spraying him with freezing cold water, and he had to lie still and not breathe. And that jump bit at the end when he jumps, it's real. That's him gasping for breath. And he suffered, the guy did, for it, but he still receives a lot of money to this day off that film.
Oh my word! What is it? Yeah, is it Pride, the one where he has to cut lumps out of himself?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one that always got me.
Pride. That's not the model one, is it? Yeah, that's right. You're right.
What I do know, but there is one where it is it's not Envy, but yeah, she has to cut her own nose off, doesn't she, or something?
That's the one. That is the one. Yeah, definitely.
Oh man, it's like I say, and it's that quick into my memory, and it's like you can watch horror films all the time, and there's thousands of ways where people get brutally murdered on screen with special effects or CGI, or whatever, and a couple of days after you've forgotten them. Maybe if you really think about it, but those ones where you don't actually even see the violence taking place, it's always after the fact. That's completely stuck in your mind so much more.
It was so real, and obviously the gluttony guy had to hire this guy who was hugely overweight, and they wanted him to be naked, and the guy said to the director, I'll be naked if you get naked. So the whole cast had to, apparently, on his say-so. But it's one of those films, again, a bit like Dead Man's Shoes, where it denies the viewer any pleasure at all, even at the end.
Yeah, and that's why, and that I think that's such a good investment, where so many horror films just become you're enjoying. Like if you're a sadist or you're into torture porn, you enjoy watching these people meet their end in the most graphic way possible. Like Saw, for me, owes a lot in its design to Seven, but Saw is done purely for look at this person die in the most extreme way possible, whereas Seven is like you've got to feel it. Again, the emotional content. You've got to you're stuck in this room with this, and you're not in good, like you say, no pleasure at all.
There's they deny you any comfort, even at the end. Even at the very end, obviously you've got the box scene, which is remarkable, and the Brad Pitt, what's in the box, and even I remember watching it, and obviously you got the close up and the sunset behind him and his tears, and at the time I remember thinking, what are they gonna do here? And even then I'd had no idea, and then you find out that she was pregnant, and of course it's Envy, isn't it? And the final kill is him. And it's been perfectly played out, and it turns out that he's been envying Mills and Paltrow's relationship all along. But by God, even just you've got the drive down that long dirt track, and it's oh boy, it's giving me goosebumps just thinking about it. And then the bit where at the end where Brad Pitt is been carted off, and that's it. And then you've got the Morgan Freeman famous outro voiceover at the end with the Ernest Hemingway quote.
Yeah, like I don't know if I believe it. Yeah,
it's just a flawless film for me. Absolutely fantastic.
The thing that gets me though, for the longest time, David Fincher was being told that he had to film another ending, that Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman were going to just burst into Brad Pitt's apartment just as John Doe was about to stab Gwyneth Paltrow, and they stop him at the last minute. And there was another one where Morgan Freeman shoots Brad Pitt and wounds him before he can pull the trigger on John Doe, so it denies John Doe his final thing. But David Fincher said, do you want to make a film that's going to last forever? And he managed to talk him into letting him film that ending where Brad Pitt not only just shoots him through the head, but shoots him multiple times, which was incredible to watch.
And then they cut to the helicopter, and it's like from distance, he's down. And of course, it's too late. The whole thing gives you a sort of gut wrench. It's a gut wrench. And they were, I think, in 90. So that was 95. I think it was 2000. They were talking about doing 8. Did you ever hear about that?
No. Wow. They wanted to follow it on.
They wanted to follow it on. But nobody was up for it. Basically, Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman were the ones who were like, nah, we're not doing this, and quite right too, because it's standalone for me, the greatest thriller of all time.
there is an ending on my again, another special edition I own, where you haven't even got the Morgan Freeman outro. Like it's a terror. Like now this is giving me goosebumps. It's the same thing. Brad Pitt gets put in the police car, makes eye contact with Morgan Freeman, completely broken, and as the police door slams shut, it just goes to black and the credits start to roll. Oh. No final. And for me, that was like, no, even for me, that's too much, because it's just like you're just sat with it. Not a single word, nothing at all. It's just like,
oh man, that's brutal.
Yeah, but
that's brutal.
It's one of those films that I don't know if because it was such a popular film, if it didn't get Oscars all round, but top to bottom, left to right, even the man, like you say, Mr. Spacey, who cannot really be named at the moment, the performances are just off the scale. Like, it's a flawless film. Fincher was like knocking it out of the park at that point.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. I'll never forget going into. Obviously, we didn't have internet back then, but we didn't have the chance to look at things and kind of spoil them for ourselves beforehand.
Yes.
So I remember going in there cold and not really knowing what Seven was with a couple of friends of mine. We'd had a beer and we went sat down. Absolutely, I've never to this day had a cinematic experience like it. I'll never forget that.
Do you think that that's ruined cinema a little bit now, that the fact everyone's so desperate for spoilers that I know people that go and sit in a film and they know the entire plot, so they're just sort of like filling in the blanks. I'm like, what? I feel
that with all sorts of entertainment, though, Phil. So with, especially what we do, wrestling. Wrestling has been spoilt by the internet no end, and movies now, especially something that Jamie picked up on years ago, which is it's only steadily got worse, is people putting too much into trailers.
Oh Christ!
Yes. If I see a trailer and I see it's more than 2 minutes long, I don't want to see it, because you've screwed the film. I mean, one of the greatest teaser trailers of all time was Bram Stoker's Dracula, where it's just a black screen and the drip of blood just comes horizontally from left to right down the top of the screen, just a little drop of blood, and that's it. It doesn't even say Dracula. It's just a drop of blood. And that appeared in cinemas in 92, I think. Yeah. Jamie put me right on that. And the screen just went black, and this little drop of blood from left to right went down, and that was it. And everyone's like, oh, what is that? What's that? So why can't we go back to things like that? Why is it you have to see the entire film now? It's absolute garbage.
Or the other thing that really does now, where they almost feel, I've seen this has become quite a big thing now as well, where they film fake scenes for the trailer to run for. It's like, but this is the thing now. Like, if I want to see a film, if I like the idea of a film, I'll go and see it. I won't listen to a review. I won't watch the trailer. I'm like, if that sounds something up my alley, I'll just go and see it. Because, like you say, everything gets spoiled. You can go on the internet now, and someone has frame by frame dissected a trailer and has started to work out the plot. And 9 times out of 10, they're right. And it's like, why would you do that to yourself?
I know. And then when you see Black Adam, the trailer was better than the film. Bonkers.
There's like, but I don't know. I think a thing that gets me a lot of the time now as well, like you say, when trailers go over 2 minutes, I get the general impression the film isn't very good, so they're trying to put all
much
of
like
bits.
Promos, Phil. is this thing on? Phil, like Promos.
Oh.
Hello?
like Ash versus Curve matches as well. 15 minutes, I pretend you said 30. What?
I made you sit through that with it like Clockwork Orange, wasn't it? With your eyes pinned open. You will watch this.
You've done it perfectly as well, because the Clockwork Orange was directed by Stanley Kubrick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get in. Phenomenal work.
There we go.
Oh Lord, that's hell of a bit of work there.
Did you see that? The speed of that.
Oh, that's a segue and a half. Chris Moores would have been proud of that.
Damn, I can't do them in my promos. But anyway, which leads us into Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket, again, what a film. I remember seeing this as a kid by accident.
Oh my God.
I recorded it by accident and watched it, and oh my God, 1987, Stanley Kubrick knocks it out of the park with one of the most unbelievable accidental performances by R. Lee Ermey, who plays Gunnery Sergeant Hartman.
Yes.
Who was a real life drill sergeant. But obviously you've got Leonard Lawrence, who plays Private Pyle, and the guy J.T. Davis as Joker, Private Joker. Those are the main characters in the film, and obviously it's all about the tensions running through America at the time of the Vietnam War, and it's an absolute tense masterpiece of a film.
All to Canary Wolf.
Yes, absolutely. That's correct. Yeah, spot on. Yeah, again, going back to my mate Jerry, who originally recommended Dead Man's Shoes to me. He was a delivery driver in London when they were filming that, and he was like driving through, and there were palm trees set up, and he was like, "What's going on over there? What's going on over there?" Well, he was a bless his heart. He was a heroin addict, so he was bang on the smack.
Wow.
He was bang on the smack going through Canary Wharf. Why? Whoops. Why are these? I'm allowed one. Why are there palm trees up in Canary Wharf? But it turns out they were filming Full Metal Jacket.
So he probably thought he was having his own Apocalypse Now moment.
yeah, exactly that. But it's so tense, and of course, again, a film that relies on a masterful twist. Yes. All three of these films have incredible twists, and obviously, the sniper who's causing so much chaos. That film has got I think Jamie calls it the Dusk Till Dawn. It's two films in one.
Yes, 100%.
And the bit where they're actually, the bit where they're actually in Vietnam, and the Tubuku soldier boy and all of that malarkey, and they'll get ripped to pieces by the sniper, who turns out to be a teenage girl.
Yes.
And that, when she's lying there fighting for her very last breath, again, it's a gut wrench moment, and all of a sudden the reality of war is brought home, and everyone feels a bit sad at the end.
Yeah.
But the bullying of Private Pyle for me, was just heart wrenching, and when they're beating him to pieces with the soaps in the pillowcases, and the howls, and then all of a sudden, when you realise that he's actually he's a reformed man, and he's actually an incredible soldier, and he's loading and he's hitting the targets, and nobody sees it apart from Private Joker, that he's actually having a mental breakdown. Yeah. This is the reason why he's hitting all the targets, why he's loading his gun so quickly. All of a sudden, he's at the end. And when he's sitting there in silhouette on the toilet, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's been I mean, you've actually picked as well in these three films as well, with Meadows, Fincher, and Kubrick, have picked three amazing directors who have an amazing eye for story, but also the shots they line up are iconic. They look like paintings, and they're just so memorable.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? All of them. And I remember, seeing the ones, because obviously you've got all these army films back in the late in the 80s, like An Officer and a Gentleman and Top Gun and things like that, which were all good, feel good films. This was the first one, really, that didn't look at killing the bad guys. This was killing each other within themselves.
Yes.
And about the infighting that goes on. And I'm not sure if I'm right. I don't think there's too many other war films that have done that. I just found it harrowing as a kid watching it. I did. I found it absolutely harrowing. And I still do now.
I made the mistake of watching that and Platoon in one weekend.
Do you know I've never seen Platoon?
Oof. Not a laugh riot, isn't it? If you want to, very, very similar. So that Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now.
Casualties of War as well, with Michael J. Fox and Sean Penn. Oh Christ!
Yes, I've seen that. I've never seen I never saw Platoon. That came out around the time. There was loads of monumental films like Platoon, RoboCop, loads of big blockbuster films came out around the 86, 87. Yeah. But for me, that like I said, Arlie Emmett, the guy who's the drill sergeant, is horrible.
Oof.
Absolutely terrifying, and makes you want to live the straightest life you possibly can and never have to be pulled into the army to do service. Do you know what I mean? It's brutal. It is brutal.
One thing I was going to ask as well, because I just realised with these three films as well, David Fincher has recently used a lot more CGI in his films, but I've realised these three films are very, very heavily reliant for their time on practical effects. Do you think that has something to do with why you chose them as well, that they've got that level of realism? And
absolutely, I said it on my podcast the other week. I was talking with Liam about films, none of which he'd seen, which was really helpful. But I was, it was the complete opposite of this conversation. But again, everything's so, it's without sounding like an old fart. It's so, even, I went to see the Boogeyman, which is, and it's just CGI. I enjoyed Smile.
Yeah.
I thought Smile was quite good. But again, there's just this over reliance all the time, and I just hanker to see an old spooky, creepy horror film. I just want to see some real spook, man.
Yeah.
And there's no imagination anymore. It drives me mad.
What would you say for you at the moment? Because I mean, me and you have a distinct love of Inside Number 9. There was a recent episode of Black Mirror, Lock Henry, that really hit the spot.
Brutal.
But what do you think? So, like, when you go and see a cinema horror film at the moment, they always seem quite sanitized or reliant on that jump scare or the musical score. What do you think horror's missing at the moment, or films are missing at the moment to make them, give them that sort of thing of Seven, that everlasting quality?
Exactly what Inside Number 9 brings, a good anthology. A good anthology, where, because things are so, they spend so much time building up the monster. They never build the characters.
Yes.
They never do that. Whereas anthologies, you have to work really hard. You have to work fast and hard and concentrate to build everything up into that short space of time, like the old Amicus films.
Oh yes, of course.
They were classics. They were my favourites. You know, all of those, The House That Dripped Blood and things like that. Those anthologies were great, and that's where obviously Pemberton and Shearsmith got their love of horror from, was those Amicus films, which is what we get into Number 9. And to a lesser extent, obviously Black Mirror. Charlie Brooker's a genius. He does it very well. He puts an awful lot of CGI in that in his films, but yet they don't rely too much on it. He does it very cleverly. I mean, we saw that one. You recommended it to me at Demon 79.
Yes,
which was brilliant. He did it so well. It was so good.
I didn't think, after hearing Bright Eyes used on Watership Down, which, like Jaws, was marketed as a children's film, but scars you for life. I didn't think that song could ever scar me again. But there you go. Thank you, Charlie Brooker,
yes.
79.
Oh no,
you did it to me again. Cheers for that, mate.
He did for me, Boney M. But there you go.
Oh.
I don't know why. But there we go. It was, again, brilliant. Charlie Brooker, you let Charlie Brooker make a film, man.
I think with Red Mirror, I think he's getting down.
If he's doing that with Black Mirror, by God, man, the guy's a genius. But that's what we're missing. We're missing character development, a bit like the wrestling. There's too much emphasis on the monster all the time, or the entity, or whatever it is. There's no good characters.
The jump scare, I think it's just about trying to get audiences to jump rather than to get the emotional feeling of dread like you do with Seven, or where you care about the characters. So then when something terrible happens to them, you're so much more invested. Do you think?
And the thing I hate the most is animal torture all the time. That is used to death. They did it with that film Pearl. It's just constant in every horror film. If you see a cat or a dog, whatever it is, you know that it's such a cheap pop, man. It's a cheap scare. I see it in every modern horror film now. An animal death. I'm so over it. It's a boring trope, man.
What it used to be, I think, that was the thing in the 80s and early 90s. It was very taboo. Like, in a weird sort of way, if you're watching a horror film, the dog would always get away and the final girl would always get away. And then they try to subvert it by, oh, look, all bets off the table. But like you say, everybody does it now. Everybody copies it.
It's all the time.
Do you think it's over-explaining the monsters as well? They try and put too much backstory in now, where, as we were saying, the biggest scare can be what you don't see, and the biggest fear is like when Leatherface was first introduced on Michael Myers. He was just a shape. I don't care. I don't want to know where he was from and that. It's more about the unknown that makes it so much scarier.
Exactly. Well, again, I bring us back to Nope again.
Yes, perfect.
Because that was exactly that. Again, I think Jordan Peele's awesome, man. I think he's 3 for 3 for me. Yeah, I loved all three of them. I thought they were all phenomenal.
I think for me, with Jordan Peele, what he does so well, again, we've gone back to this, he creates that visual image that just sticks with you. So the people smiling weirdly in Us, in Get Out, again, like just the woman crying and she's still smiling, in or the tea drinking scene in and in Nope, the cold open with the monkey, or just the foot on the shoe
my God,
on
the stuff with the monkey, man.
Oh,
that was genuinely terrifying. And of course, I thought the night shots he did out in the desert on the ranch were beautiful.
Yes.
We watched that. If you watch that in the cinema, those night shots of the ranch, I don't know what he did, but he did something. And those the night landscapes were absolutely off the charts. They were so well done. I thought it was a bit of a masterpiece, to be honest.
It was the and the noise, the sound effects and the noise when the spaceship starts eating the people.
I know it's brilliant. Of course, Michael Wincott. Wonderful to see Michael Wincott again. What an absolute legend he is.
I was trying to clock who it was, and I realised the Crow, and I was like, oh.
Well, how could you not hear? Just, as soon as you hear his voice, he's just got that. He's just got gargling razor blades, iconic voice. He's just phenomenal. But yeah, I love that. I love that guy. I think he's hit it every time.
Yeah, so amazing. So is it? Well, Stu, you've covered all 3 films. I was going to ask just.
Did you just call me Stuart?
No, I called you Stuart. I did call you Stuart on one of your own podcasts once.
Yes, Stuart.
Hello, Stuart.
I feel like I'm about to be told off and sent to my room. Well, I'm already in it. So I had the last laugh again, Bateman. You're probably just going to go no now. It's been really short. But is there anything coming up that you're interested in at all? Any sort of like horror film? Yeah, no.
No.
I don't know what's coming up. I went to the cinema recently, and the trailers left me cold, man. It's just constant rehashes and good, Insidious 7. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Sinister 4. Can't wait. They're just dross. Absolute dross. I don't. There's nothing. I rely on you actually to be sending me the trailers.
That's a scary thing to be saying. But
I rely on you to send me all my movie stuff. You and Brett Meadows. Brett's very good with that. Although he does have a tendency
to enjoy
to make some arse suggestions now and again, just to throw me off, I think.
But the thing, it seems to me at the moment, horror is always a safe bet with film in Hollywood or producers, because as Blumhouse have proven, you can put a very small budget to a film and then make an incredible amount of profit because word of mouth. Oh, you've got to see it. It's got this scary bit in it. Lots of people will go to the cinema. It's a good date movie as well. It tends to get the crowds in. But one of the unfortunate things is people want to make a return on their investment. So as soon as you get the first Insidious, or Sinister that was genuinely scary, suddenly it's like ka-ching, Sinister 4, Insidious 10, whatever. Yeah.
It's a shame because I used to like Blumhouse, whatever we call them. They're moving into the video games world now. They're making horror video games.
Do you know what? That's the other thing. Some of the scariest things I've seen recently, some of the scariest things I've played are horror. The jump that when you are in, and I honestly see at some point the reason that found footage has stayed so interesting. Before long, you'll get a good VR, and I've played Alien Isolation on VR, and that was terrifying.
I get my favourite genre is the found footage stuff, and we managed to talk about 3 great films today. And none of them were found footage. I wish someone. I'd love to see a really good one. And I love the VHS franchise.
Oh wow!
I love the VHS franchise more than anything. I think they are the best films. The VHS 94 recently was absolutely fantastic. I think I love those films.
Do you know what I love? And sorry, just before I let you go, do you know what I love about them as well? Is when you're saying about they usually last about 90 minutes long. It's usually three films with
anthologies,
yeah, with an overarching. And if you get one that's like meh, you know that the next one's coming along, and there's always at least one good one.
Oh man, they're just for abs. I've enjoyed every single one. I think they're wonderful films.
the one that always sticks with me is, I'm trying to remember, but it's the one woman they bring back to the apartment.
That's
And
the first one. That's the first story of the first one.
Oh.
And which is for the girl who flies, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, my
Yeah.
words.
Yeah,
And the way
man,
her face changes.
that is particularly it's a tricky that one.
Well, thank you for that. And another one. Thank you, YouTube. Anyway, is where do you want people to follow you, or and I'll stick it in the show notes?
What do you think? No, I don't. I want people to leave me alone. I've worked so hard for it over this to get myself cancelled. And I even tried it in my most recent book, which I didn't really enjoy my last book, so I don't bother going to read it. You know, I thought a lot of people did enjoy it, but I kind of felt like the end. I thought I rushed it a little bit, so it was very clear that I got bored come the end. So I don't care. If you want to follow me, follow me. If you don't.
Well, I will put the links to Stu, who doesn't care whether you follow him or not, in the show notes. His book, Simply the Beast and The Sound of Violence, are both available. Look at that. And I didn't even check any notes either. There we go. It's on the screen now. He didn't sell it.
Notice it's a lot thinner than the first one.
But then again, it's like the anthology. I'm sure the third one's going to be token like in its.
I followed the Anne Frank method of cutting my book off early.
Oh my God, Stu! I can't put any of this on it. Well, I said there wasn't going to be any edits, but there's going to be a few blank spaces.
Look, listen, come on, this is fair. Thick book, thin book.
Oh well, two. Buy one, get half free.
I wouldn't bother with the second one.
Oh,
because I would. But the first one is really good. The first one did really well. The first one I did really well. I made quite a bit of money out of that. The second one's been fell on its backside a little bit, and I was disappointed in that. And that's the one that's got all the meat and potatoes and the gore in, and a lot of my. But I think you might be depressed if you read the second one. So don't.
I thought the first one was a lovely coming of age story. I thought it had some really beautiful moments of optimism, and it was
because it was full of lies. It was a book full of lies. I wrote that in lockdown, and I was so depressed. I was hopped up on. I was drinking lots of Monster and eating lots of E numbers.
Well, there we go.
And so I was trying to. It was an opiate for the masses.
It was like Misery meets Sunny Delight.
What? I don't. Yeah, I'll get you to write the next review.
Thank you, and I'll give you some other films.
I mentioned. No, it's not this one. It's this one. I mentioned me and you are matching this one.
I remember reading it. Thank you.
Have you read it?
I did read it.
What did you think of it then? Since I've just slagged my own book off.
Oh, now you put me on the spot on the podcast. I do agree with what you said. I found it. It was after the first one where you say that they were like, obviously I thought it was very honest, but I thought there was a sense of optimism in the first one. In the second one, I found it like you say, it was very honest, and that's what I like about it. You didn't try and sugarcoat it, but you were like, at that point you were like, I needed to get out. But then you did, like, as you finished it, there wasn't this last chapter where it's like, this is where I found a sense of peace. I
wish I'd waited. Actually, I was so money hungry at the time. I wish. Well, and that. Thanks, Phil. I was so. Oh yeah, I was. I've been burnt out for the last decade, but I wanted to make some money. So I wanted to get it out too fast. And in hindsight, what I wish I'd done is wait till now when I'm actually have some clarity and my life is actually. But I was in the midst of despair when I ended that book, and I think it shows very much in the way it's written.
But you know what? Without me going I am about to go super trippy hippie. We're in all due respect. I think everything happens when it should happen and needs to happen when it does. And I think the way that second book ends, when you write the third one, that is your Empire Strikes Back. Basically, that is the one that has got the dark ending for the third book to bring it full circle.
I'm writing a folk horror. Is what I'm writing.
Oh, that's good. Because I always wanted you to direct, but with a folk horror, you
Yeah.
haven't got to worry about budget, and you can take it any which way. So
Yeah,
I'm very
I'm writing
excited
a
about
folk
that.
horror at the moment. It's a hard slog. It's really, I've never written a novel before, but I'm writing it as we speak. So
Well, I'm super
watch
excited to
this
hear that.
space.
Well, after your love of like Blood and Satan's Claw and Kill List and the Wicker Man and stuff like that, and the
Oh
fact how
God.
much you put into your wrestling angle, Eden, I'm so excited to see what
Well,
comes
it's
up
yours.
there.
It's yours as well.
Oh yeah, but come on, mate. You the way. So Stu, quickly, just before I let Stu go, and we'll go down. Stu has got such an eye for detail, and then when you brought the petal, there was like a little petal girl that used to drop flower petals on the way to the ring and stuff, and the music choices and the sound and the name Eden and the symbolism. And one of the best things that Stu does, and it's something we've talked about in these films and our love for cinema or different types of films as well, is you never over explained anything. Sometimes it was just something for you to see, and you can make up your own backstory.
Yeah.
And like having a darkened room where you can't see where the killer is, it's so much more frightening what your mind can imagine than spelling it out.
I was just chuckling to myself.
Go on.
I was just laughing at myself about what I said just now, and your response to it was phenomenal. I'll message you when we're not recording.
Okay, no. Well, Stu, I'm going to get a message in a minute.
Your Jesus Christ Stu thing is going to stay with me all night. That was hilarious. But thank you for that bit you just said, because do you know what? I hadn't even thought about that. I'd done that, which shows that a lot of my stuff is more luck than judgment, and so I hadn't even considered what you just said to be a thing. But you're right. Looking back at it, I never over-explained it. But I always just was like, well, you're either going to enjoy this or you're not.
Yeah.
We were lucky because it did stick every time, didn't it?
I think creatives at the end of the day, without being selfish or arrogant, make the art that doesn't exist that they want to see. And one thing that you do, and in your film choices today, is you have selected films that don't talk down to their audiences. Everybody now thinks their audiences, or so many films that are produced now, believe that their audiences are stupid and they have to explain everything and have to make everything very simplified and very basic. Whereas you are coming from a point of, there can be backstory in this, but how much do you want it? How much you've got to do? I'm not going to tell you how to feel. I'm not going to do all the detective work for you. I'm not going to chew your food up for you and spit it into your mouth like a mother bird.
Oh,
if you if you want these things,
you said
you
you would.
Them.
Yeah.
But it's the mystery. It's the mystery that makes things resonate and keep them in your mind. This is why.
Yeah, it's worth remembering that going forward, and to all the other wrestling promoters out there listening.
Yeah,
do more of that, because it's I think it's really important.
100%, mate. 100%. Well, listen, thank you so much. I look forward to your messages. I look forward to
a samurai sword behind you.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
we won't talk quiet.
That's very dangerous man you are.
Danger's my middle name, along other names.
I've really enjoyed it, mate. Thank you.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. And like I say, sometime, I don't mind getting you back on if we could talk about maybe a couple of found footage films, or definitely even if we just choose our 3 favourite VHS parts.
Or European history.
Or European history.
Tell me off again.
No, we're not going to talk about. Just realised what you're alluding to. People won't even get that joke. Right, mate, I'm going. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your be like that then. No, it was lovely, mate. I enjoyed it.
Take care, mate. I'll speak to you soon.